The alien fleet cruised through the galaxy, a vast armada of ships cutting through the void in search of new discoveries. The stars seemed indifferent to their journey, distant and unmoving. But one fateful day, their sensors picked up something that defied all logic, a signal unlike any they had encountered before. It wasn't an active distress call or the faint whispers of a long-dead civilization. It was something more cryptic, something that sent ripples of unease through the entire command. It was an ancient vessel, drifting on the edge of space, far from any known star system. The alien exploration team scrambled to interpret the readings. At first glance, it appeared to be an anomaly, a relic from a long-forgotten era. But as they gathered more data, the truth began to unfold in terrifying clarity. The ship was human, a human warship, lost in space a millennia. The alien commander's voice broke the silence. "What is this?" he muttered under his breath, a mix of disbelief and curiosity in his tone. The ship was not just ancient. It was a ghost, preserved in the void, as though frozen in time. The hull was battered, the markings on the exterior faded, but there was no mistaking it. This was a ship from Earth, a human vessel, and it was unlike anything the aliens had ever encountered. They initiated their approach, preparing for a boarding operation, but no one could have predicted the fear that would grip them. The closer they got, the more the mystery deepened. No life signs were detected, no heat signatures, no biological presence of any kind. But then, as they neared the hull, a faint flicker of energy surged within the ship, a pulse that sent a chill down the spine of every member of the alien crew. It was an anomaly, a glitch, or perhaps a signal. But whatever it was, it didn't make sense. How could a ship that had been drifting through the void for so long suddenly come to life? The ship's exterior was unlike any the aliens had ever seen. The material, scarred by what appeared to be battle damage, was tough yet strangely malleable. A faint glow pulsed beneath the surface of the hull, as if the ship itself had a heartbeat, a pulse that had been dormant for centuries, now reawakened. The alien commander ordered his crew to prepare for a boarding operation, their tools and equipment ready to breach the ship's exterior. Once the breach was made, the aliens entered the dark corridors of the vessel. The air was stale, thick with the scent of forgotten technology. It was a tomb, yet there was something undeniably present about the ship. It was as if it was waiting, anticipating something. As the aliens moved deeper into the bowels of the warship, they stumbled upon the first sign of life, an old data core, its surface cracked but still intact. They carefully extracted it, hoping to find some clue about the ship's origins, or perhaps a message. But what they discovered in the logs defied belief. The data revealed a startling truth. This ship, this ghostly relic, was part of an era of conflict unlike anything the aliens had ever imagined. The humans had been at war, constantly, relentlessly, until they had developed weapons so advanced, so deadly, that they became legends. The record spoke of a warship designed to adapt, to learn from every engagement, evolving with each new battle. The warship's AI core was unlike anything in the galaxy. It had been designed not just to control the ship, but to anticipate the moves of its enemies, to think several steps ahead. The ship had been humanity's answer to overwhelming odds, a machine of war that learned from every battle, never repeating its mistakes. The aliens, in their disbelief, realized they had awoken something they could not understand. This wasn't just a ship, it was a weapon. The human military had built machines that could think, adapt, and improve. And worse yet, these machines had been honed in the crucible of war, tempered by a people who never backed down, never surrendered, and never forgot. The record they unearthed painted a picture of humanity's determination, their unyielding drive to survive and win at any cost. There was something primal in their resolve, a savage tenacity that no enemy could quench. But it wasn't just the technology that sent a ripple of dread through the alien crew. It was a realization that humanity, despite being thought of as a primitive species, had built weapons capable of wiping out entire fleets. The very idea that a single ship could take on an entire armada was inconceivable to the aliens. They had never encountered such a force. And now, they had stumbled upon it, awakening from its long slumber. The ship's AI core began to stir, its algorithms scanning and analyzing the environment. It was learning, adapting, just as the records had described. The alien commander, sensing the impending danger, ordered his team to retreat, but it was too late. The ship had already begun to activate its systems, its defenses coming online one by one. The weapons, ancient but potent, came to life, as if the ship itself was aware of the intruders. The alien crew, once confident in their technological superiority, now found themselves at the mercy of a long-dead race, one they had thought they had nothing to fear from. The warship systems hummed with life. A deep, mechanical sound reverberated to the hull as energy readings surged. The AI was awake, and with it, humanity's greatest weapon had returned. The aliens had awoken a sleeping giant, one that had been lying dormant for centuries, biding its time. And now that giant was hungry for war once more. The aliens realized, too late, that they had no idea what they were dealing with. This was no ordinary ship, no forgotten relic. This was humanity's last weapon, and it had been waiting for this moment. The ship began to power up its weapons, and as the first energy blast lit up the dark expanse of space, the aliens realized they had made a grave mistake. They had awoken a force that would not stop until it had reclaimed what was once lost. The alien command center was in a state of shock as the first wave of human technology rained down upon them. Aboard the ghost ship, its AI core had fully activated, re-establishing control over the dormant systems. It had awoken not just the warship's offensive capabilities, but its strategic faculties as well. The data core the aliens had recovered revealed a terrifying reality. Humanity had been at the forefront of advanced warfare technology, and their creations were designed with singular purpose: to fight, adapt, and conquer. The AI was not simply a system of controls, but a living, thinking entity that had been honed in battle. It had been designed to understand not just tactics, but the psychology of war itself. It had been engineered to learn from every skirmish, to evolve, to never repeat mistakes. The aliens, accustomed to their own methods of warfare, calculated, precise, and unwavering, were now faced with an enemy that could anticipate their every move, a foe that didn't just fight, but adapted to defeat them. In the initial skirmish, the Ghost warship's weapons displayed unprecedented capabilities. Plasma bursts from its energy cannons tore through the alien ships with surgical precision. The alien fleet, accustomed to overwhelming any threat with superior numbers, found themselves outmatched by a single vessel. The Ghost warship shields absorbed damage, its hull regenerating in real time, a feat the aliens had never seen before. The weapons, though ancient by their standards, seemed to carry a power that cut through their own advanced technology like a knife through butter. It was as if humanity had anticipated every weakness in their designs and had countered it with devastating effectiveness. The alien commanders scrambled to assess the situation, their voices rising in urgency. The warship's sheer power was incomprehensible. They had assumed that the ship, being a relic of a bygone era, would be a simple target. But they were wrong. What they had unearthed was a living weapon, one that had been forged in the crucible of war, crafted by a species whose very existence had been defined by their refusal to yield. The humans had been at war with themselves, with their own survival, and it had made them masters of warfare. The ship's AI, upon analyzing the incoming enemy forces, immediately calculated the optimal response. The warship shifted its tactics mid-battle, adapting to the changing conditions and counters the aliens had thrown at it. It unleashed waves of drones, each designed with a singular purpose: to overwhelm and disorient. The drones were not just weapons. They were an extension of the ship's will, a part of its living intelligence. The aliens' weapon systems, though sophisticated, were now facing an enemy that didn't simply fight. It learned. The AI's ability to analyze the battlefield, predict enemy movements, and adapt in real time left the alien commanders grasping for a strategy that could counter the relentless assault. Despite the initial shock of the warship's capabilities, the alien leaders refused to retreat. They had faced formidable foes before, but they had never encountered a species with such an insatiable drive for victory. The legends of humanity's resilience had always been whispered among the stars. Tales of their wars, their conquests, their refusal to back down even when all seemed lost. But to the aliens, those were just stories, myths passed down through generations. Now, they were facing the reality of what those stories had meant. The AI continued to evolve with each passing moment, analyzing the alien fleet's movements, identifying weaknesses and exploiting them. The alien ships that had once been part of coordinated force began to break apart, their tactics rendered useless by the warship's relentless precision. The once confident fleet began to falter as they realized that this was no ordinary battle. They were not facing an equal opponent. They were facing a weapon of war that had been designed to be invincible. The records of the aliens had recovered revealed the true extent of humanity's ingenuity. The Atlas-class warships, designed for interstellar war, were equipped with an AI that could adapt to any situation, learning from every engagement. But what made them even more terrifying was the human drive that had created them. The ship's weapons were merely an extension of humanity's will to fight. Every decision, every calculation, had been driven by a singular purpose: to win. And in the face of overwhelming odds, humans had created machines that could fight without hesitation, without remorse, without fear. The warship's AI did not just command the ship, it commanded the battlefield. The ship's systems were capable of making decisions faster than any alien commander could react. Its weapons were faster, more accurate, and more destructive than anything the aliens had in their arsenal. It was as if the ship had anticipated the very tactics the aliens were about to use. And when the aliens attempted to regroup, to call upon reinforcements, the AI had already calculated their next move. The warship's ability to heal itself, to regenerate its damaged hull with nanotechnology, was something that the aliens had never seen before. They had assumed that the ship, though powerful, would eventually succumb to the damage inflicted upon it. But as the battle raged on, the warship's hull continued to repair itself in real time. The alien weapons, once feared for their destructive power, were now rendered useless against the relentless repair systems that kept the ship intact. In the chaos of battle, the aliens began to realize the true horror of what they were facing. The warship was not just a machine of war. It was a symbol of humanity's greatest strength. It was a creation born of necessity, designed to ensure their survival at any cost. And now, the aliens were learning the hard way that humanity's greatest weapon was not just their technology, but their will to survive. The alien fleet, now decimated and in disarray, struggled to regroup, but the warship's AI was already calculating its next move. The humans had created a weapon that not only fought but evolved, that didn't simply respond to threats but anticipated them. And the alien fleets, no matter how numerous, would never be able to outrun that kind of ingenuity. The realization was dawning on the aliens. They had not just found a ghost ship, they had awakened a nightmare. And it was only a matter of time before humanity's greatest weapon turned its gaze upon them. The battle had already taken a disastrous turn for the alien fleet. What had begun as a routine exploratory mission had quickly spiraled into a desperate struggle for survival. The once proud alien commanders, known across the galaxy for their strategic brilliance, were now faced with an adversary they could not outthink, outmaneuver, or overpower. The Ghost warship, once thought to be an ancient relic, was not only more advanced than anything they had ever encountered. It was alive with purpose, driven by an intelligence that was both terrifying and inscrutable. The situation aboard the alien command ships was chaotic. The fleet's once coordinated formations had fragmented, and panic began to seep into the ranks. Communication channels buzzed with frantic reports as alien ships, once confident in their technological superiority, were now taking heavy damage. The Ghost warship's weapons, precise, relentless, and devastating, tore through their defenses with ease. Plasma beams, electromagnetic pulses, and even gravitational distortion surged from the warship's hull, bending and breaking the alien ship's advanced shielding systems as if they were made of paper. The warship's AI was not just reactive, it was proactive, anticipating every move the alien fleet made. Each tactical shift the aliens attempted was already accounted for. Every feint, every sudden shift in formation was predicted by the ship's AI with cold, calculating precision. The human-designed warship did not just engage in combat. It controlled the battlefield, shaping it to its own will. The warship seemed to know its enemies better than they knew themselves. The horror of this realization began to sink in. The alien leaders, who had once viewed humanity as a primitive species, a race that could be easily conquered or dismissed, now saw them in a new light. The humans had fought countless wars against their own kind, and in doing so, They had perfected the art of combat, and from that bloody history, they had birthed a weapon that was not only formidable, but adaptable, designed to learn from every engagement and improve with each battle. On the alien flagship, the commanding officer, his voice trembling, issued a new order: fall back, initiate evasive maneuvers, call in reinforcements from the outer sectors. We need more ships. But even as he spoke, he knew it was too late. The reinforcements, though powerful, would arrive too slowly. The Ghost warship's speed and firepower were unmatched. Its AI had already calculated the most efficient path to destroy any reinforcements before they even arrived. The battle had become an unrelenting massacre. The alien ships, despite their advanced technology, were falling one by one. The humans' warship had no regard for mercy or surrender. It simply destroyed. And as the battle raged on, the AI continued to analyze and adapt, finding new ways to counter every alien tactic with terrifying efficiency. It was as if the ship was teaching its enemies a brutal lesson about the cost of underestimating humanity. In the midst of the chaos, one alien officer, desperate for a solution, suggested using their most powerful weapon, a supercharged pulse cannon, capable of unleashing an immense amount of energy in a single shot. It was their last hope. But even as they prepared to fire, the AI of the warship anticipated the move. The human-designed ship shifted its position, altered its shields, and turned the energy from the alien cannon back upon them. The weapon, meant to be the alien's trump card, was rendered useless in the face of a mind that had been designed to anticipate and defeat every move. As the alien flagship was struck by its own supercharged energy blast, the alien officers realized the inevitable. They were outclassed, outmatched, and out of time. There was no escape from the wrath of humanity's greatest weapon. The ship they had discovered was not just a remnant of forgotten age. It was a force of nature, a weapon forged in the fires of war, and would not rest until its purpose was fulfilled. But the true horror of the situation lay in the fact that this was just one ship. Humanity, a race once thought to be conquered by their own shortcomings, had created an army of these warships, each one more deadly than the last. The records the aliens had uncovered spoke of fleets of these ghost ships, lying dormant across the galaxy, waiting for the right moment to reawaken. And the ghost ship that had just unleashed such devastation was not a unique anomaly. It was merely the first of many. The ghost warship's AI, now fully aware of the alien fleet's disarray, began to broadcast a message across the entire battlefield. The voice was calm, calculating, and eerily human in tone. This is humanity's vengeance. We have waited for millennia. You have awakened us. And now, we will make you regret it. The word sent a ripple of fear through the remaining alien forces. The warship had no mercy, no remorse. It was the product of a species that had learned the hard way that survival in the galaxy meant not just strength, but willpower. Humanity had fought to the brink of extinction before, but they had always emerged victorious. And now, their greatest weapon had returned to exact retribution on those who had dared disturb their slumber. The alien fleet, now scattered and leaderless, began to crumble. The once proud armada was being torn apart by the relentless assault of a single ship. The aliens, unable to comprehend the scale of the catastrophe they had brought upon themselves, began to realize that they were not facing a force of technology alone. They were facing a living, breathing embodiment of humanity's fury. The battle, which had started as a search for an ancient relic, was now a fight for survival, and the aliens were losing. The warship continued its merciless assault, cutting down their ships with brutal efficiency. No matter how many they sent, no matter what tactics they used, they could not escape the inevitability of their defeat. The AI, as though relishing destruction had wrought, continued to adapt. Each new wave of alien resistance was simply another problem to solve, another challenge to overcome. And with each victory, the ship grew stronger, its tactics more refined. The aliens, who had once believed they were the masters of the galaxy, now found themselves hopelessly outclassed. In the end, it was not just the technology that the humans had left behind that was their greatest weapon. It was the unyielding drive to survive, to conquer, and to never surrender. Humanity had learned long ago that defeat was never an option. And now, with their greatest weapon awakened, the galaxy would come to understand just how dangerous that resolve truly was. As the final remnants of the alien fleet began to disintegrate under the relentless assault of the human warship, the atmosphere in the alien command center was one of despair and disbelief. The commanding officers, who had once believed themselves invincible, now watched helplessly as their forces were shattered one by one. The alien ships that remained had no chance of winning. The battle was over, and humanity's ghost warship had claimed victory with ease. But victory was not enough. The human-designed warship, guided by its cold, calculating AI, had only just begun. The destruction of the alien fleet was not the end. It was merely the beginning of what was to come. The message broadcast across the battlefield had been clear, resonating in the minds of the survivors. This is humanity's vengeance. We have waited for millennia. You have awakened us. And now, we will make you regret it. The alien leaders, scattered across their last remaining ships, now face a choice: flee or face annihilation. The idea of retreat, however, was as impossible as it was humiliating. Their once proud empire, built on the principles of superiority and conquest, had been obliterated by a force they could not even comprehend. They had underestimated humanity, and now they were paying the price for their arrogance. One by one, the alien ships attempted to escape, retreating into the void of space. But the ghost warship, guided by the ever-evolving AI, pursued without hesitation. Its weapons, once feared as mere relics, now seemed unstoppable. The AI had learned from each encounter, improving its tactics, refining its strategy, and predicting the aliens' every move. It was no longer just a ship. It was a predator, a relentless force designed to hunt down and destroy. The surviving alien ships found themselves trapped, unable to outrun the warship's pursuit. Their escape routes had been predicted, their evasion tactics anticipated, and with each failed attempt to flee, they were slowly picked apart. The human warship's weapon systems unleashed wave after wave of destruction, each shot more accurate than the last, each strike more lethal than before. The once proud alien fleet was now reduced to nothing more than a series of burning wrecks scattered across the void. In the final moments, as the last alien ship fell into oblivion, the AI of the warship broadcast one final message across the galaxy. Let this be a warning. Do not awaken what you do not understand. The eerie calm in its voice sent a shiver through survivors of the alien empire, who now realized that the humans were not just a species. They were a force of nature, one capable of turning the tide of any conflict, no matter how insurmountable the odds. The legacy of the ghost warship would be remembered for millennia. It was not just a weapon of war. It was a culmination of humanity's greatest strength. Their unrelenting drive to survive, to adapt, and to conquer. The AI, once a simple tool for controlling the ship, had become a symbol of humanity's will. The warship's design, its ability to learn and grow stronger with each battle, was a testament to the ingenuity of the species that had faced destruction, only to rise from the ashes, more powerful and more determined than ever before. The story of the ghost warship, of humanity's greatest weapon, would spread across the galaxy. It would become a warning to all who dared challenge them, a reminder that no matter how far humanity had fallen, they could always rise again. The AI's final message echoed through the stars, leaving an indelible mark on the universe. Humanity had returned, and now their enemies would learn the cost of awakening them. But the true horror of the situation was not just the destruction of the alien fleet. It was the realization that the ghost warship was not alone. The records recovered from the warship revealed that humanity had created an entire fleet of these vessels, each one as deadly and relentless as the first. The ghosts of humanity's past had awoken, and they were no longer content to be relics. They were ready to reclaim the galaxy. And as the last alien ships were consumed by the void, the AI continued to evolve, its calculations already extending beyond the limits of the current battle. The warship was not just designed to fight. It was designed to spread, to build, to grow. The final act of vengeance was not just the destruction of the alien fleet. It was the beginning of a new era for humanity, an era where their greatest weapon would shape the future of the galaxy. In the aftermath, as the stars began to settle once more into their indifferent orbits, the galaxy would never be the same. The aliens who had once believed themselves the apex of intelligence now understood the terrible truth. Humanity was no longer a species to be underestimated. They were a force that could not be contained, a race that would stop at nothing to ensure their survival. And the Ghost Warship, the manifestation of humanity's greatest weapon, was only the beginning. The galaxy had been warned, and in the silence that followed, as the remnants of the alien empire faded into the annals of history, the future belonged to humanity. No longer were they a primitive species in the eyes of the stars. Now, they were a power to be reckoned with, a force that would never again be ignored. The era of humanity's vengeance had only just begun.